Okay, Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley, can you call the names of the people that you know are there? They can say here.
Yeah. It was there. Okay. Adrian Trevino? George Narvaez? Omar Gonzalez?
Here.
Arturo Tomás Benavides? Elizabeth Alonso Villarreal?
Here.
Robert Judd Gilpin?
Here.
Jose D. Gonzalez? Hector Cortez?
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. We could go ahead and start.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 12:09. So I think we're moving forward. Great. I'd like to start with the pledge of allegiance.
Press 1 to be connected to your meeting.
Okay. Start again. We'll start off with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge
to the
allegiance
flag
to the
and the United States of America,
to the republic
one
for which
nation,
it stands,
God.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
And just a moment of housekeeping. If you're on your cell phone, if you could please mute it. If you're on the WebEx, if you could please mute if you're not talking, just so we don't get any echo.
I believe we just took roll call. We'll take that as our part of a roll call process, and what we'll do is make a motion for those that are excused or absent. Does that make a motion, board members?
Motion to excuse those who are absent, please.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Judd Gilpin.
Thanks, Judd. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we're moving forward. We'll go ahead and start with the minutes. Yep.
Yeah, just approving the last minutes for our board. If there's any questions, let us know. Otherwise, a motion to approve.
Yeah. All right.
Motion to approve.
Liz, motion. Second?
Good.
Judd? Okay.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody against? All right. Motion passes. Through the minutes. All right, make the citizen comments. If there's any comments, you have to fill out a witness card. We have the literature here, and if anybody has anything to say, please move forward with that. So I'm going to kind of expedite this because I want to have a hard stop at 1. So we'll move over to the staff reports.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know everybody has a tight schedule today. We have a few presentations, so I'm going to jump through for those board members that received the packet. If you look at the employment data on the first page for 2020, you can see the still significant reductions that we've had in passenger traffic due to COVID, but you can see incrementally getting better, which is good. American is now adding a third flight again on multiple days, so we're seeing improvement, which is good. I mean, we still have COVID going on. This is reflective better than a lot of airports in the country. I think the resiliency of our market. So we're seeing good signs. We're seeing triple digits on Allegiant. So returning, and that's kind of what this speaks to here. If you go to the next page for the gross landing weight for cargo, same thing. You know, we're showing the 50% down. It's really what we talked about due to what was going on with the Mexico plants, and then we're very dependent on automotive. And then if you go to the next page, some bright spots in here. If you look at the cargo operations that have been coming through international, we know we talked about the 10% we have in the month of August. If you look at September, 114% up, which is really good news. I'm sure you've seen the cargo planes coming and going. We've been slammed. I talked to one of the FBO operators last week, and they said that they've had some of their best days for the year. And so they're on track, hopefully, to close out what they were anticipating fuel-wise. So you see some pent-up demand coming in here now from cargo. So that's definitely a good bright spot that we see with the activity. Moving on to the next page. Same kind of story here. You know, we're tracking down on a lot of the total passengers through the facility. goes hand in hand with what's been going on with COVID. On the next one. But on the next page, on the total FIS operations, what we saw with the cargo operators for the month of September, you see a 72% increase in September 2020 over September 2019. So the numbers are greatly improving with who's using the FIS operations over there. So we're seeing that activity start to come back from Mexico, which is a good story. Moving forward to the fuel flow, you can see where we're down still. It goes hand in hand with the activity. Like I said, I talked to the FBO operators last week, and they have seen really good results in the last couple of weeks, who's coming in and out. So I anticipate, as we've seen with the passenger traffic numbers, that this will continue to improve as we move through the end of 2020 into 2021. Same deal, Signature has the bulk of the fuel sale revenues here at the airport, 85% of which this has not adjusted much because of COVID. On the next page, you'll see the delinquent report for over 90 days. We're sitting at about 54,000 right now. Still working with some of these companies, the same like with Hertz. We know that they filed for bankruptcy, so we're in those proceedings in court. It just probably realistically, we're probably not going to see that type of money come back from Hertz, but they are no longer in the facility. They vacated for now. So delinquent report overall, I think it's tracking good for considering where we are in the local economy, the national economy, and things are starting to turn a little bit towards the positive. So I think you see some good signs in that. Elsie, is there anything you want to throw on the reports?
Just on right now that we mentioned bankruptcy, I can't give too much detail on an ongoing case, but we do have tenants, Jet Racing and Sales, that we have been going to court with. It's a district court. We did file for eviction, and that was pre-COVID. And because of COVID, the cases got postponed. We had a court hearing a few days ago. The judge went ahead and gave a 30-day extension due to some ongoing cases that Mr. Wolf Hoffman filed for bankruptcy. But we have a court hearing in November, so as soon as we get more details from our legal department, we'll go ahead and provide that information to the board.
And Mr. Chairman, I believe that is the end of the reports.
Okay, yeah. Just a quick analysis. I know that you went to Mexico City recently and set operation for cargo. I hope that they expanded. Can you give any information on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mr. Chairman, to your point, we all went on the inaugural flight on Aeromar last week, which was successful. Very, very good trip. We had some really good meetings. The congressman went with us to meet with the new head of SAT. And those conversations, we basically gave them a laundry list of items we would like to improve the SAT program over there, expanding the cities, expanding the industries that can use it, including e-commerce. Adding immigration component. Elsie and I are probably scheduled on another trip here in 2 to 3 weeks to go back to have that conversation with immigration. But he seems very receptive, very open to ideas, much more than I think the last reception we had in Mexico City. So having the mayor, having the congressman there, I think leveled that up a bit and allowed us to really get the access that we needed. And so far what we've seen is I think we're on track to open up some of this. But still ongoing, nothing definite as of yet, but very good conversations for sure.
Any board members have any comments or would like to participate in any information? All right, let's move forward.
Yeah. Alejandro, do you want to give an update on the status of the phase 13?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on the status on the construction of the cargo from phase 13, we're still on track, and right now it's at 79%.
Great, outstanding.
And that what we just received from the federal government, the $16.8 million?
Yes, we received a grant 90 and 92, and we're going to bring it to the board and also to the city council to award the construction contract to REAM again for the phase 14. And also we are going to need to do some amendments to the RSNH contract for the construction administration of the project. So we keep moving on that, and this will be our last phase. Phase 14 will be our last phase for the regarding the airfield, and we're going to move to taxiways.
Yeah. So I think to that point is the help that we have been able to get from FAA and Congressman Cuella, I think speaks volumes for this airport, that we were able to get, over $30 million in federal funding for this 1 year alone. Is exceptional for our size airport. And now with the cargo apron being at the end of this new project being the last phase for ramp reconstruction for the cargo apron is a wonderful news for us. It'll be able to continue on. I think it's an excellent time right now that we never stopped during the pandemic with the not just phase 13, but that we continue on our planning and bid process and be able to have those hard bids for FAA to consider us for federal funding, because now we're ready to continue for capacity and better safety for the cargo that's now coming back. So that's all really good news, that we continue to provide that logistics change for all of the international air cargo, not just domestic.
So considering circumstances, I think it's amazing everything that's being accomplished right now. So congratulations to him.
Kudos to Alejandro. He's been working really hard on this.
Good job. Thank you.
So if we can, Mr. Chairman, like to talk real quick with HubPoint. We have Doug on the line, Mr. Baines. I assume Elsie or Ashley has the ability to have Doug share his screen, so you can talk a little bit about the air cargo development study that we're doing here at the airport and moving forward. So Doug, if you could.
Ashley, can you put up the presentations for everyone to see on the screen, please?
Yes.
Doug, maybe you can introduce your company real quick.
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Doug Banyas. I am the Managing Director of HubPoint Strategic Advisors. We are a primarily aviation industry consultancy based in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. We specialize in particularly in air cargo. We also do work in the passenger realm as well, but air cargo is a particular focus of ours. And I'm joined on this call by Zach Menson as well, who participated in this study. We were engaged by Laredo. Jeff, you want me to go right into this?
Yeah, if you could. The chairman has a tight end today.
Sure.
At 55 past the hour, so if we could kind of roll through it. And
then, I only have a couple slides. So we were engaged by the airport back in July. Finished a phase 1 study in October. Well, actually, it was September. We're now presenting here in October. So just put together about 5 slides to summarize what we did in phase 1 and tell you about what we're planning to do in phase 2. If you want to go to the next slide. So really the idea of this was to get an understanding of the market and where what were the trends, what were some of the important drivers of this market. One thing that we certainly understood was that Laredo has a very good business with Mexico, not surprising to anyone. But it is interesting that we rank 5th amongst all U.S. airports in handling of cargo to and from Mexico, and that puts us in some very heady territory with airports of much bigger size. Memphis is the FedEx hub. Louisville, number 2 is the UPS hub. Miami and Los Angeles always have a lot of activity between Latin America and the U.S. And then we fall in right behind Los Angeles at number 5. And then you'll notice some other very big airports, Chicago O'Hare, New York JFK, and then even San Antonio. We're outpacing them in terms of our trade with Mexico by air. I think that tells us a few things. That one thing, using a boxing analogy, is that we're punching above our weight. We're a small airport compared to a lot of these other airports, and we're doing a good job of capturing that business and doing it in a sustained way. The city of Laredo is known for logistics, so I think a chart like this and the activity that Jeff mentioned earlier in terms of the growth that we're seeing return in cargo certainly says that kind of logistics DNA is certainly present at the airport as well. And then we can move on to the next slide. This just gives you an idea of some of the trends over, say, the past 15 years. Certainly overall growth, and the notable piece is at the end. And that's really related to a few things. One is certainly the trade and tariff wars that occurred between the U.S. and other countries in that period. Slowing economy as well, kind of globally. So those things, are seen at most of the airports that we study and have seen. So not really surprising, but also has an explanation to it. And if you go into the next slide, you'll see that, again, no surprise to anyone, is that the airport's activity is highly dependent and centered on the automotive industry. So the right side of this slide, where you see the declines in the automotive industry, auto parts shipped by air, looks very similar to the last few years, or the last year for Laredo that we showed on the last slide. So really, we see ourselves very much moving with the auto industry, and there's nothing bad about that, but there are some things that you have to recognize in terms of the ebbs and flows of that market, and maybe how do we level off and make sure that we're not as sensitive. The left side of this chart shows that right now Laredo's commodity mix is about 44% in pure auto parts, but the other categories, certainly have elements, I would think, of the auto industry, including electrical machinery, industrial machinery. You have electronics, things like that in that category that likely is related to auto parts. So a heavy reliance on auto. We love the automotive industry, but I think the idea is, what can we do to diversify? What can we do to grow so that the overall activity at the airport is more steady and sustainable? If you can go to the next slide. So in the course of our market study, we certainly wanted to understand some of the larger trends in the air cargo industry. And everyone's familiar with e-commerce growth, Amazon, but certainly others are driving this market. The pandemic has certainly brought it to a different level, with more people staying at home and ordering online. But for our purposes, what's happening in the U.S. market, but also in the Mexico market, is particularly interesting. And a lot of the activity in e-commerce also is being driven by the increased service levels, and that increased service level leads to more use of air, which again goes back to some relevance and some things that we want to be paying attention to at the airport. Another trend that we talked about in one of the previous slides, tariffs and geopolitical tensions are leading to some increasing what we call repatriation of air eligible commodities, basically reshoring, bringing things back from, say, Asia to North America, including Mexico. So again, something that we want to be aware of and looking for opportunities as manufacturing returns to areas close to us and relevant to us. There's also a slow recovery on the passenger side. I think most estimations are it's going to take about 4 years at least to get back to pre-COVID levels. In the meantime, cargo still needs to move. A lot of cargo moves in the belly of passenger aircraft. So we're seeing certainly a higher demand level for air cargo, all cargo freighter capacity. And then finally, there's going to, because of these types of trends, there's going to be increased competition amongst U.S. airports for air cargo operations as they look for revenue diversification. So the activity that, say, Laredo has today, I think other airports are going to be looking to do that as well. And that leads to a higher competitive environment where we want to be doing everything we can to retain what operations and cargo flows we have today, but also grow upon that. And then the next slide really gets into the summary of what our findings led to, which were some opportunities that we think are very actionable, things that are attainable given some work. And those include exploring some regulatory options which reinforce Laredo's natural advantages and lead to a sustainable market position. This is happening at several airports and within airlines themselves, where they're taking advantage of some regulatory conditions and using it to their advantage. And we think that there may be some opportunities there for Laredo. E-commerce growth, we just talked about that, but leveraging the increased use of air transportation in order to meet higher customer service levels. I think in this case, we would be particularly interested to see how Laredo plays in the U.S.-Mexico market and how we can take advantage of our market experience there. Also, as mentioned, diversification of air cargo, to not only focus on on automotive, but potentially things like pharmaceuticals, perishables. E-commerce is also part of a diversification strategy for the airport. And then finally, I think most of us on the call are aware of the dual inspection program at the airport. That is being used to a certain extent, but we think that there's some refinements that can happen that would lead to even greater use and more of a sustainable advantage for the airport. So those are some things in the near term that we want to be working to execute on. The lower two are grayed out for a reason. They're not part of the current scope that we proposed, but Jeff will probably talk about it in a minute. There's an RFP went out, and there's been a recommendation for award to parties that include third-party air cargo developers. So working with them to expand Laredo's capabilities in cargo business. And then also looking at this long-term trend, which we think is the reshoring of Mexico, reshoring of manufacturing to Mexico, which can lead to increased air cargo activity levels. So I went fast, but I think that covers the main points of our phase one work and what we plan to do in phase two.
If there's no questions for Doug, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move on to SP Plus parking. They have a small presentation they'd like to give.
Does the board have any questions?
Chairman, can we have a copy of the presentation?
Yeah, we'll give it out. We have an executive summary that we can give out.
Who it was?
Omar.
Omar?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
No, Omar.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, great.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess we'll move forward.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, we also have a presentation from SP Plus Corporation, the parking program. So, Brad Mcallister, if you're on the line, if we could. And then keep in mind, too, our time is getting shorter, so we can kind of give an idea of what we're doing on the lot.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. This is Brad Mcallister. Can everyone hear me okay? Am I sufficiently audible? Very good. All right, very good. So thanks for your time this morning, everyone, this afternoon. Wanted to take this opportunity to inform you a little bit with all of the changes that are occurring with the airport's parking management strategy, and also tell you a little bit about the new equipment that you're going to see in place very soon at the airport. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Brad Mcallister. I'm a regional manager with SP Plus. I've been with SP Plus for almost 2.5 years now. That's actually the extent of my airport parking operations experience, but I've learned a lot in those 2 years. But before that, I have been in the airport industry since 2008. I was actually editor of a trade publication called Airport Magazine, where I interviewed airport managers consistently for that publication, and then director of marketing for an airport technology company. So coming to parking, it's been a great experience, and I'm really looking forward to working with Laredo Airport to really enhance the experience our customers have in your market. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Ashley, I'll just tell you a little bit about SP Plus. We're a large managed parking operator, not only in airports, but in the municipal space as well. We manage over 3,400 parking facilities across the U.S. and Canada. We do manage about 300,000 parking spaces and collect over $1.5 billion per year for our clients. So we are specialists in this market, and we consider ourselves very much experts, and looking forward to help Laredo out as well. We do manage parking at 73 airports in the U.S., but we also manage shuttle operations landside operations like ground transportation and taxi cab management, as well as valet operations. We do some airport terminal janitorial services for our airport partners. We also do now, as of last year, remote airline check-in and remote bag check services, which is very interesting and something we see coming to the market over the next 5 years or so. We do have 5 other airports in Texas: Austin, DFW, El Paso, Houston, and Houston Hobby. And I am actually based in Austin, Texas. I do also oversee Austin's airport parking program, as well as El Paso's parking program. Next slide, please. So as all of you are aware, you put out a proposal for a parking management company that included a requirement last year for a new parks system. That's the parking access and revenue control equipment that you see at the entry and exits of each lane at the airport. The reasoning for this was very sound. The equipment that is currently in place is aged, and actually the manufacturer doesn't actually manufacture any parts for that system anymore, and it's also increasingly difficult to support that system as well. Just not to mention that while it had probably all the features and technology that was the latest and greatest at the time of installation, we've come a long way since then. We did propose the TIBA X60 series to replace your current parking access and revenue control system. And it's going to be supported by a company called Associated Time Instruments, which is also based in San Antonio. So the goals are simple. We're going to modernize the park system at the airport with the latest and greatest. We certainly want to offer an enhanced and more convenient customer access and payment experience, as well as provide a more secure and automated environment with a higher level of accountability. Obviously, with this technology comes a high level of reporting capability as well. Next slide, please. Thank you, Ashley. So just some of the features and functionality that will come along with this equipment. And as an update, we've actually been working this month to do what's required to get the infrastructure in place for the installation of this equipment. We will start installing here very soon, and you will see the new equipment in operation as early as November 1st. So just a couple weeks here. Some of the things that I think are very important to point out in a COVID environment is the technology does allow for some of those more contactless experiences for the customer. For example, when you drive up into an entry lane, you'll have the option to actually wave your hand over a sensor that will dispense a ticket, so you don't have to push a button. But it does come with a 10-inch color touchscreen, which does have a touch button for the ticket. This also has a credit card in, credit card out entry and exit experience. So this is a ticketless experience. If a customer would like, they can actually insert their credit card at the entry, and this will really be their credential in lieu of a parking ticket. And when they fly out for their flight and fly back and leave the parking lot, they just enter that same credit card, and it will recognize how long the vehicle's been there and automatically calculate the rate and charge the card and provide a receipt. So another sort of ticketless experience for our customers. The system does include barcode reader hardware as well. So in the future, certainly we'll be talking with the airport about the potential to sell parking spaces online and also introduce dynamic pricing and yield management to the environment as well, where we can actually offer discounted parking prices if someone books online based on how long their stay is, to really help us maximize revenue, because as anyone knows, the longer you park at the airport, the more cost prohibitive it is. And obviously Ubers, Lyfts, taxi cabs take advantage of that, and folks are dropped off. So providing dynamic pricing capability really allows us to encourage parkers to park at the airport as opposed to getting dropped off or taking an Uber or Lyft. PCI compliant mag stripe credit card solution. Obviously, it's very important that as we're handling credit card data, that data is very secure and complies with payment card industry standards. Also, various credentials and access cards like you have now are incorporated into the system, and we actually have the capability to use barcode stickers to provide validations, and it's also a much easier way to track the exits and entries as well from an audited standpoint. Next slide, please. Oh, one back, sorry. And along with this technology comes our remote management services solution, which is really an intercom system that's built into the technology. It allows for 24/7 remote support. The call center is located in Austin, Texas. Our customer service representatives there are bilingual as well. So anytime after hours, if a customer has an issue or during the day when our managers and staff may be dealing with another customer issue, the customer at the lane can easily get support from this call center. They'll be able to direct the customer on what to do in order to exit. And if there's a lost ticket, this call center can actually push a charge to the machine as well, and they can remote vend from Austin as well. So a much more efficient way to be a 24-hour operation at Laredo Airport. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to throw in some pictures here. It doesn't really do it justice, so I really recommend after November 1, everybody go out to the airport and check out the new equipment. But obviously, much more sleek and new and really, from an electronic interface standpoint, just much more modern. So the pictures on the left here are pictures of some of the equipment that you have currently on site, and the pictures on the right here, one of an entry machine there, as well as what the screen displays there as well. So we'll keep it short. I have a lot of other pictures. I'm happy to send folks if they'd like to take a look at it. But again, I encourage you to visit the airport once the system's installed at the end of the month. Next slide, please. As a part of our parking management program, we've also launched a new parking guide website, which really replaces this web page, the parking dedicated web page that was on the Laredo Airport website. It was very simple. It just showed a couple rates and a large map, if you all recall. This customized guide really provides much more enhanced information to the passenger, as well as a parking calculator so folks can put in when they plan to arrive and when they plan to exit, and they'll know exactly how much to expect in terms of a parking charge. Also additional parking information here as well, some frequently asked questions, a dedicated email address and a phone contact for anybody who'd like to contact us directly, and we can deal with any issues a customer may have personally that way. Also an opt-in email entry and database provided up here in the upper right of the screenshot here, where customers can actually enter their email address. That will go into a database. They will get an automated email welcoming them, and then we can use that database as a way or a vehicle to inform customers of any changes at the airport, changes regarding the parking program, or any discounts or special offers that we might be running. So I believe that was my last slide, actually.
Well, thank you, Brad.
My contact information is here. If anybody'd like to know more, just feel free to reach out to me.
Chairman, I know we're running low on time. I don't know if you want any questions.
Thanks, Brad. Members have any questions?
You want to say on top of the designs that are going to be great out there, the other thing is the equipment that we have now is antiquated and old, and we've been tracking about $100,000 in losses over the last 5 years, which doesn't equate to passenger traffic. What it equates to is the system today gets overloaded with the Allegiant flights, and then what happens is the arms get put open so passenger convenience people can leave. So it will help the revenue as well here at the airport to have a better system in place. So,
I just have a quick question.
yes, Elizabeth.
Brad, I know, can you, when a customer enters the email, the customer won't be bombarded with all these emails that just come out of nowhere, right?
No, we're very cognizant of oversaturating, the customers with information they don't need. So all they really get is a welcome email once they sign up. And then, frequency-wise, we certainly will not bombard the customers with information that they don't need. So really, any changes in the parking operation or, for example, there's construction in the roadway leading up to the airport, that would be a good vehicle to deliver that information as well. But also, I should say, that information and messaging can be added to the parking guide webpage as well, right on that home page of that particular web page, so we can put that information there as well.
And I think for the board, just to know, we wanted to make sure and bring this up to you to see some of the work that has been done. I know a lot of in the background, but they've been working here extensively. They have also hired staff, so this is bringing jobs as well into the airport. And the level of customer service that's being given to travelers, I think is exceptional, really, and that's just the level of standard that we really wanted to operate at. They also provide now services for a car in case somebody that they need assistance and help them out from the long term to the short term. But more than anything, the customer service level is exceptional. And I think all of this lends to everything that it complements with the new air service as well. We're seeing more passengers picking up on travel, but not with Aeromat. I mean, offering $149 tickets to Mexico City, $169 fare to beach resorts. It's just, we're going to see more travelers, and this complements that.
Another question on that. I know that's a ticketless environment. Are you going to be able to do this off the iPhone where you can just scan it, or are you moving forward to that direction?
Sorry, so this is Brad. We don't see that technology prevalent at airports today, although we're really starting to get into discussions with this, obviously, especially with the COVID. And what they really call it is frictionless payment, where you can pay with Google or Apple Pay. Yes, that is something I think we'll certainly be in conversations with the airport about. Those devices were not included in this particular installation, but they can always be retrofitted in. And I do see more and more airports talking about this. It's much more prevalent, I think, in the municipal and commercial space right now, but it's definitely coming to airports. And what this technology does is allow us to future-proof for that technology and be able to enhance the experience with those solutions during our term.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. I'm going to move back. But I had a question for you. I got another question. I'm going to go back a little bit to Doug. In reference to, I know some of the information that we work with, and especially I'm on a lot of trade committees, and it seems to be a big concern, like, the air flights are coming from point A to point B, you got hours that they arrive. But the biggest issue is the handling. You have sometimes up to days or hours trying to get the offloading. Are you going to work on that? I know that Laredo doesn't have an issue. I hear that. And matter of fact, when you discuss Chicago, and we're ahead of Chicago, I know that they have some concerns out there, and as well as other airports. Is that going to be a concern here now that you're going to be doing more development, or are you going to be able to cater to that to make sure that, because air is expedited shipping, but then when it gets here, it seems to have delays on there. So.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for that question. Good point. And absolutely, I think these things all intertwine, and where there's a potential for development of new facilities, the handling can often be negatively impacted by outdated facilities. The cargo industry has changed quite a bit over the past 30 years, when a lot of these are more when these facilities were built. So I think that will really help bring it to a different level of efficiency and keep us from getting in a position that maybe other airports are in today.
Taking into consideration the increase of volume of the e-commerce that they're working with, and I know that they're trying to develop more relationships with Mexico, are you anticipating the inflow? Because I know dealing with customs on a national level, they're having issues with their hardware, and it seems to be slowing down a little bit more, and they're trying to catch up. They've surpassed the formal entries. So are you anticipating this kind of growth, or are you just working on what you have right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously e-commerce is already flowing through the airport, mainly with FedEx and UPS, but we think that there's definitely an opportunity to do more. And again, leveraging off things like the dual customs, where potentially e-commerce could be pre-cleared if we can get that expanded into Mexico, leading to more volume, more activity, and honestly more employment and other benefits to the airport and the community.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, and to your point, JD, I think the next item on the agenda might help answer some of the questions you might have.
Right. A couple on here.
Yeah.
So I guess moving forward, thanks for the presentations. They're very helpful. Appreciate all the information that was provided. I think it benefits all of us as well. So, the action item.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the first action item we have is to consider a recommendation to Mayor and City Council for approval of selection and to negotiate with Aviation Facilities Company Management, LLC, AVCO, and 270 Development Group, LLC, to lease, develop, and or manage various parcels at the Laredo International Airport. 6 firms responded to the request for proposal on August 14th, 2020, and reviewed, evaluated by independent selection committee. There is no cost involved in this part of the selection and negotiation process. I know right now on the call we have a lot of people that are joining from these groups, both with AVCO and with the 270. This is the best response I've seen to a airport RFP for land development. This is going to be significant. I'm looking forward to the partnerships that we'll have with both AVCO and 270, and that's why we're presenting to the board today to enter those negotiations. We're talking with AVCO a cargo facility, parcel F that you see on the screen up there, that northwest corner of the airport, but really to be the master developer. So parcel F, parcel C, parcel D, parcel A, and then with 270, parcel G and parcel B. And obviously this is to enter negotiations with them, but in their proposals, the timelines are very attractive. Parcel G, we're talking, hotel, retail in front of the airport. Parcel F, like I said, we're talking distribution center with aircraft, which I think goes to your comments, Mr. Chairman, about building up that ground handling that we have here and looking towards that e-commerce. So we're talking millions in private investment into the airport. So this is a big item. We had a really good selection committee, independent, Laredo, EDC, Economic Development Department, Chamber of Commerce, all to come in and make the selection out of these 6 companies. So what I will say to that is if there's questions, I know, Steve, for the Honorable Henry Cisneros, I saw you on there,
Yep.
Former mayor of San Antonio and HUD secretary to Bill Clinton, is on the call as well. He is part with AVCO Group. And we also have Josie, and I apologize, Josie, because I'll butcher your last name with 270. But if there's any questions for the group, feel free to ask now or to me.
I don't know if Mr. Cisneros came.
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Cisneros, if you want to say a few words, or Steve.
Well, let me just say I'm honored to be part of the consortium with AVCO and Chuff Stepanek, which involves Goldman Sachs. So it's a very, very strong group. Our firm, American III, will help bring capital to this project. And we're honored to be selected to work with Laredo in general. As you know, I have observed Laredo and been involved with Laredo for 30 years from my vantage point in San Antonio. And I've seen the transformation of Laredo through logistics. It's amazing the population and economic growth that has occurred because of the logistics that was attended to NAFTA, now the USMCA, with rail and with trucking. But the airport has not been on the forefront of that opportunity. And now the opportunity presents itself thanks to e-commerce, and the shipping of goods that way. And thanks to other aspects of this with the onshoring in Mexico of the automotive sector, et cetera, for high value parts that require quick transport for the airport to be part of enhancing Laredo's standing. And I would just say the potential is huge. I think that the Hub Point study is very persuasive and breaks out what needs to be done step by step. And I'm honored to be part of a group that will help Laredo get to the next level, which I think can be very, very substantial. So I compliment the Airport Advisory Board and staff for having the foresight to do this. Let me ask Chuck Stepanek, if I may, to speak here.
Yeah, Henry, you listen. Thanks.
I apologize, Mr. Stepanek. I didn't see you on the line, so thank you for joining. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that up front, but thank you for being on the call.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate it. And I'm the president and CEO of AFCO, and Steve is joining me. Steve will kind of be the point person for this project. But I just wanted to say, and echoing Henry's comments as well, we welcome the opportunity to work with the city and the airport. You guys have done an exceptional job. Hopefully we can, kind of roll up our sleeves and work, closely with you to kind of take this to the next level. I was quite intrigued by Doug's report from Hub Point. I think that's a lot of what we're seeing out there in the industry today with respect to e-commerce and some of the challenges with the loss of belly freight and some of the trade tensions. But he also pinpointed, some of the bright spots of what we want to focus on in Laredo. And with us, it's really about collaboration, rolling up our sleeves. And with the support of Goldman and our ownership, and Jonathan Hahn and Juan Felix are on the call as well here today, and they've been great supportive partners, and we really look forward to working with Henry and Triple I, and then Jeff and your team. Just again, as I said, rolling up sleeves, and we're just really excited about this opportunity and helping it grow. And Steve, I don't know if you had you wanted to add to that as well, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. I just very briefly appreciate the words that you and Henry just shared. We obviously agree as a group with the vision that the airport leadership and the city has for maximizing cargo and logistics at the airport. We look forward to negotiating a transaction as quickly as possible and getting to work. So thanks, Jeff. If you have any questions, we're certainly here to answer them, and we'll be available throughout the process. As Chuck said, communication and collaboration is a cornerstone of what we do with airports. Thanks.
Thank you. And I know, Josie, you're on as well with the 270 group, which is a separate group. I don't know if you want to say a couple words or. Maybe some technical difficulties, but no, I think when you look at this, it's exactly what we want, private development into the airport facility. So, Mr. Chairman, I leave it to you.
You know what, any board member, I find it very impressive, and I'm looking forward to see how we can develop Laredo being the #1 hub on the southern border, and also, just in trade. And I think this is a welcome opportunity. I think this would benefit especially the air industry here that we have. And I think there's a big room, a lot of opportunity for growth in the trade that we're moving right now, and anticipate growth. We've been having, even during the pandemic, we slowed down for a couple of months, but we're back to almost normal traffic and regular trade. So I'm anticipating more with the air traffic. So I think this is a welcome addition. I'm looking forward to the proposal and see how far we go with this. So any of the members have any questions on this?
I guess at this point, staff is recommending, so I'm pretty sure you all did your conversations, your meetings, and if nobody else has a question for this, then I make a motion to approve.
Okay, Liz, motion, second?
Second.
Doug, second? Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. Looking forward to the process. It's very interesting, and I'm seeing how far we can move forward with this. So thank you. Awesome.
Thank you. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on, I know your time constraint. Consider recommendation to Mayor and City Council for approval of award for a professional service contract to Hub Point Strategic Advisors, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $124,000 for professional consulting services to conduct the cargo development phase 2 for the Laredo International Airport. The term of this contract shall be for 1 year Funding is available in the Airport Operations Fund. This goes to exactly, Mr. Chairman, your points before about developing beyond e-commerce. Working with Doug and Zach, they're top-notch. They're the best consultants for cargo in the business. So I think when you look at the item right above this, they were instrumental in working with AVCO with us to bring them in for this proposal. So we would very much like to continue our partnership with HubPoint and continue to build our cargo, and that's exactly what this is intending to do.
All right. Any questions from the board? Anybody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Liz, motion. Okay, great. Outstanding.
Second.
Hector?
Second.
Okay, Hector, all right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next is to consider recommendation to Mayor and City Council to authorize the City Manager to execute a lease agreement with the City of Laredo Police Department for building number 374, consisting of approximately 22,776 square feet, located upon a tract of land consisting of approximately 138,359 square feet out of Block 3, located on 712 Mayhar Avenue. The lease agreement shall be for a period of 5 years, commencing on October 1st, 2020, and ending September 30th, 2025, with 2 one-year options to extend lease ending in October 1st, 2026 and October 1st, 2027. Lessor agrees to abate the first 7 months from October 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2021, not to exceed $64,200. Monthly rent shall be $9,400 starting May 1st, 2021, and will be adjusted annually according to changes in the Consumer Price Index. Airport will be providing rental abatement and upfront repairs and the total amount of $130,400. This is where the detectives sit for the Laredo Police Department. So they're currently in the annex. The annex is falling apart, and so this is a temporary solution for them for the next 5 to 7 years for them to find a permanent location for their detective units. This is department.
Any questions on the board members?
Yes, I have a question. So, so there's going to be an abatement for 7 months. Okay. But
Yes.
so the repairs are going to be done by the airport?
To an extent, yes. Anything that's resulting in structural changes, so the HVAC units, the roof units, and Elsie, if you want to, okay, so roof repairs of $5,200 are structural changes that will be by the airport. The AC is $49,000, totaling $54,200 for the facility itself. And then the next repairs are what we're doing in the abatement, which totals to the $97,458. So it is working with the city management for this lease. Obviously the police want to buy the land. I'm not in support of selling any airport land. The FAA is not as well. So this was to find a temporary solution for the city until a more permanent location can be found, hopefully within the next year for them. But we definitely are working with them on this one. But like I said, it's something that, directive with city management.
The funding will come from?
The airport revenue. We can't actually use CARES Act funding to reimburse for this. So this will be CARES Act. Not CARES Act funding, just straight from airport revenue.
Has it been budgeted for, or is this?
We've moved some things around to make it work.
Just one more question. So it says here, inspect and provide cost estimate on AC system. It's $49,000. So it does not include the AC system?
No, it does. So what we're trying to do is Alejandro is working to see if there's potentially a lower cost that we could get, if maybe a refurbishment, but it sounds like it's probably going to be the full $49,000 repair. So the approval we're looking for is the higher amount. It's potentially, if Alejandro can work something on it, may go a little bit lower, but maybe not. So it won't be any more than that. We may end up a little bit lower if we can do something to do it.
The $49,000 was based on bids that went out.
Right, that PD got bids on that unit itself.
I think it's just the wording that caught my eye about it doesn't say including the replacement. It just says inspect and provide a cost estimate. That's why I was like, so it doesn't
Right.
include the AC, so maybe just, I don't
On the
know, just,
background, yeah, we can verify that definitely with this to city
I see.
council. Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Needs to be, yeah. Agree. Point. Thanks, Elson. Thank you. This, anybody like to make a motion now?
any of my fellow board members?
Move to approve.
Victor, Olson, second. Sorry, do that. Anybody second?
Second.
Doug, second. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Anybody opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, last one. I know you have to go.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. This is Ashley.
Yes. Yes.
I had a message from Josie. She tried to speak, but we weren't able to hear from her.
Okay, that's fine. I think we've approved, so we'll move forward without it, but thank you. So the fourth is to consider a recommendation to authorize the city manager to enter into a memorandum of agreement between the Laredo International Airport and U.S. Customs and Border Protection to reimburse CBP in the amount not to exceed $57,334.40. Reimbursement shall be for information technology equipment and services to include all equipment, connectivity costs, installation, maintenance, and reoccurring costs in a leased premise located at 4719 Mayher Avenue. Funding is available in the Airport Operations Fund. Mr. Chairman, this is the FIS on the side of the airport. Through their processes internally, they've realized that they don't have adequate technology that they need to process flights. Part of our contract with CBP is that we are required to provide them the IT that they request. So really, unfortunately, we don't have much of a choice. We have to give them the equipment that they need or they won't occupy the space. And not that it's at that point, but I just wanted to put the context in there that we don't really have a choice of not to upgrade this equipment for them. If they ask for it, we by contract have to do it.
Understood how they work. I know how.
Right, you know. I'm preaching to the choir now.
So, but is this money budgeted or are you moving things around?
Moving, I think, into this because this was another one of those things that was unknown.
Is it going to affect us in the long run?
No. It should not.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
And,
All right.
and it's just a one-time deal kind of thing, or?
No, there's reoccurring costs in the lease premise. Was it 12,000?
Around 12,000, yeah. So there's
12,000
some
a year.
equipment that needs, some work and equipment that needs to be done upfront as a one-time expense. And then around 12,000 will be just reoccurring data services fees by their internet data provider.
And we would be paying CBP directly for this. We're not paying their providers. We're paying CBP the money for this contract.
Well, if you say that there's going to be some expense in the future, I guess you'll budget that into the budget.
Yeah.
Before,
correct.
So you don't have to move around things. That way, you just put it in there.
Exactly. At this point, the budget was already prepared before we were informed of this issue. It's something that came on after the fact. So in future budgets, now will be.
When is our next budget?
We start preparation in February. So it's right around the corner for the 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? Anybody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Victor, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Anybody like to make any requests?
Nope.
All right. Like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
One more second. Okay. Adjourn.
Bye, everyone.
Everybody keep safe. Thank you,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.